Today, we're diving into the hidden engine of your home. It's the one machine that really makes modern life possible, and it works tirelessly, completely in the background. But what exactly is it? Think about it. It's not your refrigerator, it's not the dishwasher, and no, it's not your TV. It's that one piece of equipment you only notice when it breaks down, and it always seems to happen on the absolute hottest or coldest day of the year. You got it. We're talking about your home's heating and air conditioning system, your HVAC. So yeah, your home has this hidden engine. It's this silent hero working 24/7 in the background, a really complex mechanical system that's dedicated to one thing and one thing only, keeping you comfortable. But it's about so much more than just comfort. You can think of this system as a kind of invisible force field. When it's dangerously hot or freezing cold outside, this machine is what keeps your family safe and turns your house into a sanctuary. So what happens when that force field gets put under some serious stress? To figure that out, we're going to zero in on a really specific case study, Bolingbrook, Illinois. This suburb of Chicago is, well, it's like a perfect crucible, a place where some pretty unique environmental challenges push these HVAC systems to their absolute limits. And in doing so, it teaches us lessons that apply to homeowners literally everywhere. So the systems in Bolingbrook face what you could call a triple threat. First off, you've got these wild temperature swings. Second, the ground itself, the very earth under the houses, is unstable. And to top it all off, the types of houses you find there create this kind of perfect storm of mechanical problems. Okay, first let's talk climate. I mean, just look at this range. It's extreme. The systems there have to be tough enough to handle scorching 92-degree summers and then just a few months later turn around and fight off these brutal -3-degree winters. That's a 95-degree swing. For any piece of machinery, that is a massive, massive job. And then on top of the crazy weather, you have the ground itself. A lot of the area has what's called expansive clay soil. That means it literally swells up and shrinks down depending on how much moisture is in it. This movement can actually shift the concrete pad your air conditioner sits on, which puts a ton of stress on vital connections like the lines for refrigerant and drainage. And this brings us to the third problem, which is all about the town's history. You see, you've got two totally different issues going on. In the older homes from the 70s and 80s, you find these systems that are just ancient and inefficient, running way, way past their intended lifespan. But then, in the newer homes, you often have these basic builder-grade units that were installed to meet a budget, not to stand up to a brutal climate. So, what happens when you pile all this pressure onto that hidden engine? Well, it starts to fail. Let's take a look at the anatomy of a breakdown and some of the most common failures you see under these kinds of harsh conditions. The calls for help, they almost always sound like this. My AC just can't keep up. The furnace is clicking on and off constantly. Some rooms are freezing while others are boiling. And of course, the energy bills are just going through the roof. Let's dig into two of the most frustrating of these problems. All right, first up is this absolutely maddening scenario. You hear the furnace kick on, you feel a little bit of heat come out of the vents, and then nothing. A few minutes go by, and it tries all over again. This isn't just annoying, it's a huge red flag. So this is what's known as short cycling. The furnace is actually shutting itself off as a safety measure before it can really do its job. The cause could be something like a dirty flame sensor or a faulty safety switch, but whatever it is, this is incredibly inefficient. It wears out parts way faster, and it leaves your house feeling cold. And here's the second classic complaint, especially in the kinds of split-level homes that are common in that area: uneven temperatures. You know the drill. In the summer, the upstairs is basically an oven, and in the winter, the downstairs level is an icebox. So why does this happen? Well, it's almost never just one thing. The problem is usually systemic. The ductwork that's supposed to carry the conditioned air might be too small, or maybe it's leaking air into your attic. Vents could be blocked, or, and this is a big one, the return air system that's supposed to pull air back to the furnace isn't big enough, and that creates these weird pressure imbalances all over the house. So, with all of these complex, interconnected problems, how in the world do you find the actual root cause? Well, that's where an expert diagnosis and a really clear, systematic approach comes in. A professional process is all about being transparent and getting rid of the guesswork. It starts with just scheduling the call. Then it moves into a really thorough diagnosis with clear, upfront pricing before any work begins. And it doesn't just end with the repair. It finishes with a full system test to make absolutely sure the problem is solved for good. And this right here is the critical point. A true pro doesn't just treat the symptom like a furnace that keeps shutting off. No, they use diagnostic tools to find the exact part that failed, and even more importantly, they figure out why it failed in the first place. And this brings everything full circle, doesn't it? In a place like Bolingbrook, a real solution means looking way beyond just the furnace. It's about understanding how the age of the house, the ductwork, the climate, and yeah, even the soil all work together. You're not just fixing a single part, you're treating the entire home as one interconnected system. Now, realizing it's all one big system is, well, it's fascinating, but it can also feel a little overwhelming, right? So how do you, as the homeowner, make smart decisions? This is where having a couple of key tools and rules of thumb can be an absolute game changer. Okay, first step is the $5,000 rule. This is a fantastic little piece of mental math to help you decide when it's time to stop pouring money into repairing an old system and just invest in a new one. Remember those ancient units from the 70s? This rule is for them. It's simple. You just multiply the age of your unit by the estimated cost of the repair. So if that number comes out to be over $5,000, then replacement is probably the smarter financial move. Let's look at the examples here. A $500 repair on a 12-year-old system, that gives you $6,000. It's probably time to replace it. But a $400 fix on a 7-year-old unit, that's only $2,800. In that case, repairing it makes perfect sense. Here's another one. It's incredibly simple, but it's a vital tip. The 3-minute rule. In a place with extreme summer storms, power flickers are super common. If your AC shuts off unexpectedly, just wait 3 full minutes before you turn it back on. This gives the refrigerant pressure inside the system time to equalize, and that prevents a really violent jolt that can completely destroy the compressor, which, by the way, is the most expensive part of your whole system. And really, that's the main takeaway from all of this. Whether it's knowing why your furnace is short-cycling or just applying a simple rule to protect your AC, understanding the why behind how these systems work transforms you from just a passive observer into a smart, empowered homeowner. So, we'll leave you with this one last question to think about. You now know what this machine does and all the forces that are working against it. So, is your home's hidden engine? Is it truly ready for the next extreme?